Hello, how are you? Have you heard of the expression think outside the box? Well, today I'd like to present you with a challenge. Maybe you heard about it, maybe you haven't, but I'd like you to think about it as the analogy that we're going to use today. So then the challenge is to put together these 9 dots in 4 lines without lifting the pen and without marking the same line twice. So the challenge is, again, to join together these 9 dots without lifting the pen and without marking the same line twice. And the little clue here is, remember to think outside the box. It may seem simple, but this small challenge was brought about by Carl Dunker, who is a German psychologist, in 1935. And his idea was to present a challenge to help people realize how we are just, with all our limiting beliefs, we just want to fit ourselves in that particular box. And it became even more popular in the 70s and in 80s by J.P. Guilford and Edward de Bono. And they are considered pioneers on the study of the neurodivergent thinking and creativity. So they came about with using this think outside the box. So welcome to Unoverwhelmed Emotional Fitness. My name is Silvia Diaz, and I'm a proud mother, advocate, and coach for families of children with autism. On this channel, you are going to share reflections, tools, and real-life stories that bring hope, emotional strength, and faith to this autism journey. My goal is to help parents and caregivers feel less overwhelmed and more empowered as we walk this path together. And remember, we are not alone. So let's talk about this challenge together. So as you work with this analogy of putting together these 9 dots and thinking outside the box, I'd like you to connect this with our challenge of raising children who are definitely not in a box. And even just being parents, we have to be creative. We have to think of ideas of how to help our children. Well, as neurodivergent parents, this has to be even more important. Learning to be flexible and have this box not be a box anymore, because sometimes we want them to be in one of those dots that they must fit and conform to this very non-flexible system sometimes. So, but what if they are not the problem? Because we often are just thinking of the things that they cannot do. But often we disregard the things that they can do. So when we try to set their own limits because they need to be in a certain way, we ourselves are limiting them. So I would like to share with you one of the many moments that my son surprises me with thinking outside the box. So he is learning English. He's doing very well, but I'm trying to let him be more flexible and be more fluent. And of course, learning to be independent, which is one of the biggest challenges. So we went to a store because he wanted to make some masks. That later I will share a story with that. But he wanted to make some masks and he needed a funnel. Well, I had no idea what a funnel was or knew the word in Spanish. I didn't remember how to use it in English. And so we go to the store and we needed to find this. And I'm thinking, how do you say funnel embudo in Spanish? How do you say that in English? How do you say it? So I learned that it was funnel later. But says, mijo, I don't know. We have to look here and there. And all of a sudden, I see him in one of the aisles talking to one of the assistants in the store with the clerk, and he's showing a picture of a funnel with his phone. And I say, where I find this? He just showed the picture. And here I was thinking of trying to translate on that. But those are examples of when he surprises me with his survival skills. And it just reminds me that I limit him, right? So I was like, what a cool idea. So then, of course, he started using his translator to communicate, and he learned to use that very well. And I never even thought of using that because obviously I have a linear way of thinking. But when he surprises me with things like that, and he makes up words, and he's just so creative with so many moments that he makes me laugh, of course. He sometimes just surprises me of his own thinking and how he just comes with solutions that I had never thought of. Can you think of ways of sometimes when your child has come up with solutions that you say, like, what? I had never thought of that. And letting them remember that a child that is accepted is free to be himself. So educating with as a neurodivergent is not following a manual at all, because it means one child with autism, and we say that in the community over and over, is a spectrum, like the background that I have. It's all the colors in there. Now, remember that we ourselves need to be creative, patient, and very flexible. We need to be flexible ourselves, and we need to learn to give them instructions, but let them be creative. So as they think out of the box, sometimes we need to bend the rules a little and maybe learn to see things from their perspective. So when we actually give them moment to be free and be outside that box and just make that box a bubble, which is not the answer to the to the challenge, but just be more flexible, we ourselves just don't feel fixed anymore. So let's see, how are you doing with that challenge? Ready? So I'm going to give you the answers. If you don't want to know the answer, pause the video right now. Ready for the answer? So remember that we need to think outside the box, and every time we are not afraid of thinking outside the box, we can find with new solutions. I'm going to show the solution. If you have not tried it, then maybe you should pause the video. But if you want to know the answer, here's what it looks like. So you start here, and then you go outside the box, and then you put all of this together like this, and then go up and down, and there you have it. You have united the 9 dots. What do you think? Tell me. So do share, please. Tell me, when have you had to think outside the box? When has your child taught you how to think outside the box? What challenges have you been presented? Do share. And remember, you're not alone. God loves you. And please contact us if you want some coaching to become a less overwhelmed parent.